Venice is sinking. It has been for 600 years. It's built entirely on wood, driven into mud. One church alone stands on over 1 million of them. The wood should have rotted centuries ago. It didn't. In 1966, the sea nearly finished the job anyway, so Italy built something that had never existed before. 78 gates, invisible until needed. It took 20 years, $7 billion, and a corruption scandal to finish it. This winter alone, it's been raised 30 times in 23 days. So how is a city built on wood, sinking for 16 centuries, still standing at all? 421 ad. Northern Italy. Refugees flee invading armies. They head for the one place no army wants to follow. A lagoon. Shallow water, soft mud, no roads in or out. Nobody builds a city here on purpose. They did anyway. The mud here can't support a stone building, not on its own. So builders drove wooden piles straight down. Thousands of them per building, alder wood packed tightly together side by side. On top, horizontal wooden platforms, then stone, then the city itself. Normally, wood underwater rots within decades. This mud has almost no oxygen in it. Without oxygen, the bacteria that cause rot can't survive. Instead, minerals slowly seeped into the wood. Over centuries, the wood didn't rot. It petrified. Basically, it turned to stone, while still underground. Santa Maria della Salute, one church alone, rests on more than 1 million of these piles. The Rialto Bridge stands on roughly 12,000 more. Multiply that across the entire city and the true number becomes almost incomprehensible. Venice isn't really built on land at all. It's built on a forest, buried and turned to stone. The wood held for 1,600 years, but the ground underneath was never the real problem. The real problem was the water, slowly winning. Venice has always flooded sometimes. It's built into the lagoon itself. The lagoon breathes with the tide twice a day every day. Locals call it acqua alta, high water. For centuries that was manageable. A few times a year, a few inches. In the 20th century something changed. Factories on the mainland needed water. They drilled wells straight into the aquifer beneath the city. Pulling water out from underground let the whole ground above it compact and sink. In just decades, Venice sank another 23 centimeters. By the 1960s, officials finally banned the wells. The sinking slowed. It never fully stopped. By then, the city itself was already changing in a different way. In 1950, roughly 175,000 people lived in the historic center. Today, that number is closer to 50,000. Tourists now outnumber residents by roughly 20 to 1 most days of the year. A city built to survive the sea is now also trying to survive its own popularity. Then, on November 4, 1966, everything got dramatically worse overnight. A storm pushed the tide to 194 centimeters, the highest ever recorded. Nearly the entire city went underwater in a single night. Homes, shops, centuries-old artwork, all of it submerged. That single flood changed Venice's legal status overnight. Italy declared saving Venice a national priority. By 1975, the city started asking engineers for a solution. The winning design, massive steel gates, hidden on the seafloor, normal until the moment they are needed. Then filled with compressed air, they rise. The name, MOSE, Modulo Sperimentale Elettromecanico. Roughly, experimental electromechanical module. Everyone just calls it MOSEs. The name wasn't an accident. Construction was authorized in 2003. The original budget about 2 billion euros. The original deadline 2011. Neither one held. First came the sheer scale of the engineering itself. 78 individual gates split across 3 different inlets. Lido, Malamocco, Chioggia. Each gate hollow steel about 5 meters thick. Roughly the footprint of an Olympic swimming pool, each one. At rest they sit flooded with water, heavy, invisible below the surface. To rise, compressed air is pumped in. The water is forced out. The gate becomes buoyant. It floats upward on its hinges. The whole process takes about 30 minutes. The decision to raise them has to be made hours in advance. An oceanographic tower, 15 kilometers offshore, tracks the incoming tide. Get the timing wrong, and the gates rise too late, or too early for nothing. Wind direction matters as much as tide height. A strong southerly wind can push water into the lagoon far faster than the tide alone. Forecasters track both constantly during storm season. One inlet needed something extra. Malamaco stays open to shipping. A lock lets ships up to 280 meters long pass through, even with the gates active nearby. Engineering the gates was hard enough. What happened next made it worse. Between 2014 and 2018, investigators uncovered a bribery and kickback scheme. 35 people were arrested, including a former mayor of Venice. Nearly $5 billion had moved through the project by then. Some of that money had gone to contractors. Some had gone to politicians directly. Public trust in the entire project collapsed almost overnight. Work slowed to a crawl while the investigation unfolded. The scandal became almost as famous as the barrier itself. Then, on November 12, 2019, the sea reminded everyone why the delay mattered. A tide of 187 centimeters hit the city, the second highest ever recorded. 80% of the historic center went underwater. The city's mayor called it a wound that will leave a mark. Gondolas were found tossed onto pavements, far from any canal. Total damage, estimated at over $1 billion. The barrier meant to prevent exactly this still wasn't finished. It was, arguably, the closest Venice came to losing the race entirely. Less than a year later, the system was finally ready for its first real test. October 3, 2020. For the first time in centuries, Venice stayed completely dry during a high tide. The gates had worked, exactly as designed. 20 years of delay, one scandal, one near-miss flood, finally justified. But finishing the barrier didn't end the story. It just started a new one. In 2023, the gates were raised 25 times. In 2024, 28 times. By early 2025, the system had activated nearly 100 times since 2020. Then came this winter. Between January 28th and February 19th, 2026, the gates rose 30 times in just 23 days. That's more than one activation every single day. Each activation costs around 150 to 200,000 euros. That single winter alone cost the city roughly 6 million euros in barrier operations. The system was designed for occasional, exceptional use. It's now running far more often than anyone originally planned. In 2024 alone, it prevented an estimated 200 to 400 million euros in flood damage. By any financial measure, it's already paid for a fraction of itself every single year. But not everyone considers this a finished success story. Sealing the lagoon too often creates a different problem entirely. Most of the city's sewage still flows directly into those same canals. One geologist warned the lagoon could become, in his words, a bathtub, then a sewer. There's also a harder problem. The gates were designed decades ago. Sea levels are now projected to rise far beyond what those original plans assumed. Some researchers estimate a rise of up to 110 centimeters by the year 2100. If that happens, even fully raised gates might not be enough. Engineers are already studying whether the gates can be raised even higher. Doing so would mean redesigning parts of a system that took 20 years to finish once already. One geologist has proposed something else entirely. Pump seawater underground, not to flood the city, to physically lift it back up. It's a strange idea, reversing the sinking that started this whole story. For now, MOSE remains the only thing standing between Venice and the sea. Venice isn't the only city racing against rising water. Jakarta is sinking so fast. Indonesia is building an entirely new capital elsewhere. Miami fights saltwater seeping up through its own streets, not just over seawalls. London, Rotterdam, and Shanghai have all built their own version of a movable gate. Venice was one of the first cities forced to solve this problem at this scale. Every other sinking coastal city is now watching to see if the solution actually lasts. 1,600 years of wood, slowly turning to stone underground. 50 years of arguing, designing, and building one barrier to hold back the sea. A scandal. 2 catastrophic floods. One first, historic, dry October afternoon. None of it has fully solved the problem. All of it has bought the city more time. Time enough for one more generation to walk these streets without wet feet. Whether that holds for the next generation is still an open question. The wood held for 16 centuries by accident. The gates only hold for as long as people keep choosing to maintain them.